Elizabeth Warren is proposing, she's not alone. You also have Peter King, the Republican out of New York, now signing up for the assault weapons ban. But Elizabeth Warren is now proposing additional unconstitutional actions against the Second Amendment. And her idea is to tax Americans out of their guns. Here's what's going to happen. The federal government is going to squeeze the banking and financial community to stop people like MasterCard and Visa and big banks from doing business with gun manufacturers, giving them loans, even offering financial services to not only the gun makers, but also the gun sellers. So if you go in to buy a gun, eventually they'll say, I'm sorry, I can't take Visa or MasterCard, American Express. They don't do business with gun sellers. So then what do? You got to go to the bank. Okay, so you go to the bank or you write a check. Will the bank cash that check? Is the bank willing to give a loan to either the guy that wants to open up his gun store or the people who are making the guns? And then if after all of that is done, imagine the price of guns, after all of that is done, then she wants to tax you an additional 50%. For the guns and the ammunition. Okay, now listen, I just want to read what she wrote for an op-ed in Medium. I want to give you one paragraph, and I want you to see if anything sticks out here, because something stuck out to me that bothered me. Increasing taxes on gun manufacturers. Since 1919, the federal government has imposed an excise tax on manufacturers and importers of guns and ammunition. Now, I know if you're a longtime listener, you heard 1919, you're like, he's going to go for Woodrow Wilson. Yes, that's a grand. No matter if it said 1919 or not, yes, that's going to happen. Handguns, but that's not what I was talking about. Handguns are taxed at 10%, and other guns and ammunition are taxed at 11%. These taxes raise less in revenue than the federal excise tax on cigarettes, domestic wine, or even airline tickets. It's time for Congress to raise those taxes to 30% on guns and 50% on ammunition, both to reduce new gun and ammunition sales overall and to bring in new federal revenue that we can use for gun violence prevention and enforcement of existing gun laws. Oh my gosh, what a pile of crap. Now, what sticks out to you? There's a lot there, right? For the prevention and enforcement of existing gun laws, please. You can use that revenue to stop gun violence? How? What, throw more money at it? Yeah, it's working so well with education. It doesn't work. Maybe it stuck out 30 and 50% on ammunition? Nobody's going to go to the range. Good. So now if you do own a gun, you can't afford to go to a range, and so you're sloppy with a gun. Oh, that's brilliant. No, here's what stuck out, and it was the stumbling block of 1919. Since 1919, I immediately thought, Woodrow Wilson, I hate that guy. And then I continued to read. The federal government has imposed an excise tax on manufacturers and importers of guns and ammunition. Wait a minute. What's an excise tax? Now, I know what an excise tax is, but I wanted to know what is the definition of an excise tax? What is that? The excise tax is a tax that the government can levy on companies, products, and privileges. Privileges. Yeah, things like you need a license for. So in other words, if you live anywhere near a beach, or a city with a beach, you might have to pay an excise tax so you can get the beach sticker so you can go down and park by the beach, or you can use the beach, right? That's an excise tax. That's all good because we all have to work together, and the beach is a privilege. The beach is a privilege. The government says the beach is a privilege. Now think about how screwed up that one is. So what are they saying? Guns are a privilege? No, we know this is 1919. We know that people in 1919 took the Constitution seriously. This was at the beginning of the progressive movement, and so they were by 1919, they were a little back on their heels, and they're like, whoa, wait, what's going on here? By 1919, Americans were paying attention, so you couldn't have a direct assault on weapons So you couldn't say, hey, I'm going to tax this because, like that beach, it's a privilege. You're going to say instead, to make guns is a privilege. To sell guns is a privilege. Yes, all men are created equal. And yes, I know, these rights shall not be infringed. You have a right to a gun. But it's a privilege to make and sell a gun. And that's how they got around it. And now that we just accept this excise tax as a privilege to make a gun, because I can't make a gun. Can you make a gun? Can you make and sell a gun still?
I cannot.
No, you can't. You'd go to prison, right? You have to have a license to make and sell a gun.
No, it's a privilege.
It's the privilege. They're just selling you a license. That's all they're doing. And they're just going to put a little tax on here just for the privilege of everybody to do this business. That's infringement.